button. And I am thrilled to be asked once again to partner with the Senior Service Alliance. And collectively, our two organizations, the Senior Service Alliance and the Positive Aging Community, come together and partner on some really great discussions. And today is definitely one of them. I'd like to introduce everybody to Joe Sperling and Meryl Schaefer with Senior Service Alliance. For folks that aren't familiar with Senior Service Alliance, tell us a little bit about that group.
Steve, thank you. Good morning. And Meryl is the founder of Senior Services Alliance, the humble founder. Was it, how many years ago was that, Meryl?
2017.
Okay, and it's been going strong and growing ever since. It's an assemblage of individuals and small businesses that provide services to seniors. And we're very focused on welcoming into the membership like-minded folks that are intent and making the seniors experience as good as possible. We meet twice a month on the second and fourth Wednesday mornings, and it's been a great ride. In fact, when I talk to people about joining the group, I tell them I go often, and frankly as much as possible, because it's like going is like a warm hug.
All right, that's great. Meryl, do you have anything to add?
Yes, because it can really help your business in many different ways. Number one, if you have a client and they have a needed service that you specifically don't provide, you're going to find the proper professional within our group. And networking is very important. And secondly, you can get more business out of it. And actually, I have a third comment too, and that is we provide educational programs such as today with Secretary RONA KRAMER. And if you have a topic for discussion, we're always open to hearing about it.
I love it. And for those that are in the audience that may not be familiar with my organization, it's Positive Aging, the Positive Aging Community. We publish the Positive Aging Sourcebook, which lists all of the senior living communities in the state of Maryland, as well as DC and Northern Virginia. And we host a series of live and interactive discussions. Most of them are at noon. And so I like doing these because it breaks it up a little bit and I get to have my cup of coffee and enjoy a good conversation. So, I think we got the intros together. So let's welcome Secretary RONA KRAMER. She's the state of Maryland Secretary of Aging, to the stage, and let's get to know her a little bit better, and then also learn what Maryland is doing for older adults these days. And I got a little peek under the hood because I've seen Secretary KRAMER's PowerPoint. There's some really innovative programs. Secretary KRAMER, welcome.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us today. For those who are not familiar with Secretary KRAMER's background, it would probably take the full hour if I really went through her complete CV, but a true Marylander, raised in Montgomery County, went to Kennedy High School, University of Maryland, and the University of Baltimore School of Law. Have you ever left the borders of this state, Secretary KRAMER?
Rarely. Who needs to? Don't we have everything here in Maryland?
Yeah, that's who we want leading our in our government positions. But the amount of committees and initiatives that you've served on are, I mean, it literally, I'm staring at a page right now. Maryland's top 100 women for the Daily Record. I mean, just so many service awards and so many committees you served on. Out of curiosity, when you look back at your career, is there one thing that really kind of stands out that you think about, you know, when you wake up in the morning and talk to community groups?
You know, I have to say that I just love a challenge. And for everyone who's watching, there are so many challenges out there to enjoy that there's no end to them. So I've always picked up on something new, some new area that needed work and where there's a challenge. And I would just, if I have this opportunity, ask everybody to contribute, and it makes a huge difference. And all of them are heartwarming. So whether it was serving in the Senate or being involved in the business community, serving as the president of the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce, they all have great rewards.
Great. Okay. Well, let's dive, because I know you've got tons of great things to share with us today. So Joe, Meryl, and I, we're gonna duck behind the curtain here, and then I am going to bring up your presentation, and Secretary KRAMER, you just tell me, you just say next or whatever works for you, and I will advance the slides, and hopefully I won't mess things up too much here.
I'm not worried about that. We'll work it out, Steve. Thank you very much. It's lovely to be with all of you this morning. As I noted briefly, I come from the business community. And so I have great respect for what business does, and have attempted, as has the entire Hogan administration, to keep that at the forefront as we have functioned over the last 8 years. When Governor Hogan asked me to serve in his administration, at the time he was still Governor-elect Hogan 8 years ago, I had asked him if I could serve. He had a different role in mind for me, and I had never been in the human services field, but was very interested in aging. And so I specifically asked if I could serve at the Department of Aging, and he had to think about it, but he agreed, and I have now been here for 8 years. And it has been the most fascinating experience and the most rewarding. There is so much to do. And you all, I'm speaking to the experts, you all know that. And we have created as much of a partnership with the private sector and the business community as possible. And I certainly hope that continues. I'm going to give you a brief overview of what the Department of Aging does. It has many varied programs, and then would really look forward to your questions. It's difficult not being in person. Speaking to a screen is not comfortable. And for you all, not to be able to raise your hand is, I know, not the ideal situation, but please do use the chat. I love the questions. We can get so much information shared that way. Let me note that the Department of Aging receives its funds both from the federal government and the state government, as well as some other grant sources. And we work through 19 area agencies on aging across the state. And those 19 agencies work, they're the boots on the ground. And they actually perform the services for the public. They're the direct connection in most instances. We've changed that a little bit over the last 8 years, and we do have some direct programming coming from the Department of Aging. But those area agencies on aging are terrific, and they each represent either one jurisdiction or a combination of a few. We have 24 jurisdictions in the state. So the first slide is for our single point of access to our services, and it's called the Maryland Access Point, and it is a single phone number that can be called or a single site that all of anyone needing services, not only for aging, but for health and human services, for the Department of Disabilities, can call. And instead of getting a runaround and being told to call this number and that, they call 211 or our number 1-844 MAP-LINK, and they will immediately be directed into to their local jurisdiction. So they don't have to make a separate call for that. It was a huge effort to create this system, and Maryland was one of the first. You can change the slide. We have in our department an elder rights division. We at the Department of Aging do not regulate nursing homes, but that's the Department of Health. But we do have the long-term care ombudsman, who is the representative and advocate for residents of nursing homes and assisted living facilities. We have ombudsmen throughout the state. The lead ombudsman is in the Department of Aging. We have a public guardianship program for those who do not have family to serve in that role. And but we do only guardianship of the person, not of the property. We before I move on to Medicare assistance, that's okay. Before I move on, we also, though we don't regulate nursing homes, we do regulate continuing care retirement communities. Everything from the approval of those communities through the annual recertification. And because they have what is considered to be a insurance-like nature to them, it is a very serious responsibility to regulate them. And so we have that division at the Department of Aging. Our Medicare assistance program is wonderful. We have volunteers as well as paid staff throughout the entire state to help seniors to recognize and prevent Medicare fraud, as well as to assist them with enrollment in Medicare right during open enrollment period during the fall. We are extremely busy. It takes a great deal of planning and education to assist in all of the questions that were asked during open enrollment. Slide. We also, next slide. We have a nutrition program, very, very important. If you look at this couple here, I'm guessing that what you can't see out of the screen is it must be cocktail hour with the smiles on their faces. But nutrition programs are very important. They are funded both by the federal government and the state government. We provide home delivered meals to those people who can't get out. We provide congregate meals so that we add socialization to the meals program. We do not means test any of our nutrition programs. We have a program in conjunction with the USDA where we deliver a 40-pound box of food to supplement for people who need it throughout the state. It started only in Baltimore City 8 years ago. We have now expanded it to Western Maryland, the Eastern Shore, the metro area. And every month, our seniors depend on that 40-pound box. of pantry supplies. During the pandemic, our demand for home delivered meals jumped overnight with a 500% increase in demand. And we were scrambling to find all of the food to use to deliver those meals, as well as the systems. And one of the things that we put into place during that time was an innovation that was only used in 3 states in the nation, and that was our restaurant initiative. We partnered with restaurants all across the state and independent restaurants, and had them prepare meals, and they delivered, in many instances, delivered those meals to our senior participants. And we had we not only fed the people who were depending on us, we gave them very interesting meals. We were able to make them much more interesting than they had been accustomed to. But most importantly, we were able to put millions of federal dollars into our local economy by supporting those restaurants that were struggling during the pandemic. So we're very, very proud of that initiative, and it continues. And we will continue to emphasize the need to use those funds in the local economy. The next slide has notes a number of different programs that we call nursing home diversion programs. And really everything we do is to divert people from the need to be moving into nursing homes. So senior care is a funding source that's very flexible, and we can use it. Our area agencies on aging, otherwise known as AAAs, they use that funding for adult medical day or some support with prescription needs, health aides, if that can assist. They're very flexible. It's whatever it takes for an individual to be able to stay in their own home longer. We have subsidies for assisted living. We support caregivers with programming and respite and a number of different services. Certainly, we help with education for caregivers. We have a congregate housing program where people who are already living in assisted living but can't afford quite all of the services that they need in order to stay there, we will supplement those services. And the idea is that everything we can do to keep people living in the community will, where they want to be, of course, will also prevent their spend down where they become Medicaid eligible, and then the state and federal government are responsible for the $100,000 a year that it costs to sustain them in a nursing home. We have another program, Veterans Directed Care, which is wonderful. It's through the VA, and we assist veterans in being able to put together their own care plan and remain at home with their own individualized care plan at home. The trajectory of aging, if you could change the slide, is what we in the Department of Aging, when I first came in, I looked to see what we were doing to assist people to prevent spend down and entry into nursing homes. And I saw that government has in the past, and in large part still, has our seniors living at home independently on their own as they age, and they go through the years as things become a little bit more difficult, maintaining their home, driving at night, um, uh, knowing where supports are. They're on their own, on their own, on their own until boom, something happens, a fall, a medication error, the inability to maintain their home any longer, when they then have to go into either assisted living if they can afford it, where within an average of 2 years they spend down, or they go directly into a nursing home, and where Medicaid then will pick up the cost of their care. The government has not had programs to assist during that aging process until this disaster occurs. So what we decided to do in Maryland is to change that trajectory. One of the early, and the way we do that is through innovative programs. So one of the early programs that we put into place, and actually this senior call check program was the design of Senator Ben KRAMER, my brother, who put in a bill to create this program. Maryland was the first state in the nation to have a daily check-in call available to all of our residents 65 and older, free. Anyone who requests it can sign up in a very quick sign-up process. And what we do is prevent anyone from languishing on the floor without being able to get to a phone to let someone know that they need help. And sadly, people die across the country. Many people die every year under those horrible circumstances. So now we've got a free program to prevent languishing on the floor after a broken bone or a stroke without being able to get to help. So it's a great program, and we call a default caller if the person does not pick up. It's convenient. We do it at the time of day that's requested by our participant so that we're not interfering with their schedule. And they can take their call on a landline, a cell phone. We make it very, very convenient. And of course, it's also available through Relay. Our next innovative program is what we call Maryland's Community for Life. We offer a program to bring home maintenance, service navigation, and transportation to any older adult who would like to participate. And it is targeted, originally it was targeted to middle income Marylanders because there were no programs available to middle income, very little that we provided to assist them. And because there are not enough government funds to cover all of the costs of these services, we created a program where we partner with nonprofit providers who are accustomed to have decades of experience serving older adults and some government funding. And then we have a membership fee. And with that, we are able to keep people living at home years longer than they can otherwise. Now, we started this program targeting middle income Marylanders. We continue to grow it with that demographic in mind, but we have now also been able to bring in some people who are entirely subsidized by government funds. So it's been a terrific program. Let me give you a little bit more information. Our first service maintenance provides, and you could move to the next slide, Steve. we bring home maintenance. About 4 hours of home maintenance service every month. And it is brought to our members by a trusted handy person. And so they don't, when they have a running toilet or a smoke detector that's chirping, they don't have to go out and find a contractor, nor do they have to get up on a ladder themselves. And that's extremely important. We are preventing people from climbing up on a ladder to change a bulb in the ceiling, or from cutting down the tree limb that came down in the storm. And we make it easy and safe to maintain one's home. We're very flexible on that maintenance that we provide. And for services that are bigger than the handyman can handle, like roof work or a major plumbing or electrical repair, we bring a list of vetted contractors to our members, and they can then talk to those contractors that our providers have vetted. And we know that we will be preventing fraud, contracting fraud, which is a huge issue for our older adults in the state. Every single year, we have huge numbers of seniors who are defrauded by home maintenance contractors. So we prevent fraud, we prevent falls, and we make living at home very easy. We also have in every community for life trained service navigators. These service navigators are experts in all the services that are available in their jurisdiction. So they stay in touch regularly with their members. They get to know them. They do and usually do an initial meeting with the member when the member joins. They do an initial safety assessment of our member's home and make changes. We had one member that had a railing that did not go down to the last step. We corrected that for them. We had another member that was beginning to have difficulty walking, showering, but had no guardrails and no grab bars in the bathroom. We took care of that and made it safe for him to be living in his home. If we have someone who we understand is beginning to have difficulty walking at night, we can put up a pretty railing between the bedroom and the bathroom so that he can have stability as he moves from one place to the other during the night. Nighttime falls are extremely common with older adults. The service navigator gets to know the member. They will check in at least once a month just to say, hi, Mrs. Jones, how are you doing? And if Mrs. Jones needs something, though, that service navigator is available every day of the week for a phone call, a question. The service navigator might find, as she's speaking with Mrs. Jones 3 months after Mr. Jones has passed away, that Mrs. Jones is beginning to isolate. She's not leaving the house anymore. And the service navigator can say, you know, Mrs. Jones, you're not getting out since Mr. Jones passed away, and that's extremely unhealthy for you. You've been telling me for the last 2 years that you love to read. Did you know that there's a new book club that started in the community, and they'd love to have you join? And the service navigator then will call the book club and make arrangements for Mrs. Jones to join, or she'll make arrangements for Mrs. Jones to attend a church social event. And Mrs. Jones will be welcomed then because the connection had been made by the service navigator. The service navigators are available to answer all kinds of questions, but we've found that answering questions about telephone scams has been extremely successful and helpful and has prevented fraud. Our older adults frequently don't want to ask their adult children whether the call they got might be real. They don't want to call their adult child and say, you know, I just got a call from Internal Revenue and they say that I owe them a huge amount of money and I don't know what to do. It makes them look weak, but they don't have that same relationship with their service navigator, who is a friend who's there to help them. And we have had many of our members call their service navigator, who then can tell them it's a scam. Don't answer those calls, hang up if they call you back. And so that's been a huge success for us. The third major service that we provide is transportation. And for those who need assistance with transportation, whether it's to a doctor's appointment or to go shopping or to go to a great-grandchild's birthday party, we can help them. We keep them active. We prevent isolation. And for people who want the other services but still drive themselves, we can cede their transportation time to a neighbor who needs it. So it has been very interesting to see how these services are utilized across the state. In Baltimore City, we have a very successful Community for Life. Home maintenance is the most important service, as well as the service navigation. They use less of the transportation. In our rural programs, that transportation is extremely important. So it has been, we have been growing dramatically in the program. We have, I believe the next slide will show you the locations of our existing Communities for Life. We now have them in 11 jurisdictions. We continue to work to expand that to all 24 Maryland jurisdictions. And we operate by county, or in the case of the city, citywide. So any of you who are on this call who might be interested in becoming a Community for Life partner, please get in touch with us at the Department of Aging. We are very pleased. We now have support from the Administration on Community Living, our federal partners for Community for Life. And I'm very pleased to tell you that we have also received a $2.8 million grant from Medicaid, because they are now convinced that this can keep people home much longer than they would otherwise be able to be at home. That will save Medicaid a tremendous amount of money. And with this grant from Medicaid, we are doing a very intensive evaluation of the program to prove that what we already know is happening. And we will even be utilizing Maryland's electronic medical records system to prove that this program is preventing falls and hospitalizations, and then moves into higher levels of care. So anyone who's interested in working with us on expansions or bringing services to the program, it's certainly an option. This is a quick comparison of the costs for care as we age. And as you can see, nursing home, and this is already 2 years old, nursing homes were approximately $11,000 a month. Assisted living is about $5,000 a month. And to be frank, there are a lot of them that are much more expensive, as we all know. And Community for Life right now is $150 a month for all of that service. Home maintenance, very convenient, service navigation and transportation. Next. The another of our innovative programs came from a trip that I did with Governor Hogan, an economic development trip to Israel. And while we were in Israel, I met with my counterparts in the aging field in Israel. And I found that Israel had a national durable medical equipment reuse program. So I came back to Maryland and our staff started researching to see what we do to reuse DME in Maryland. And there was very little. There were loan closets here and there where people would just drop equipment into a closet, rollators, walkers. And across the nation, there was very, very little. So we established Maryland's Durable Medical Equipment Reuse Program. We now bring in thousands of pieces of equipment in excellent condition, everything from rollators and walkers to the most sophisticated $28,000 motorized wheelchairs, hospital beds, motorized hospital beds, and motorized Hoyer lifts. And we take this equipment, we sanitize it, and I'll show you a little bit about the process in a moment. We sanitize it, we repair it if it needs repair, and then we give it away free to any Maryland resident who needs it. You may not know that that people with mobility needs cannot always get what they need for the greatest mobility from their insurance provider. So people who have no insurance certainly need this program, but people who do have insurance, whether it's private, whether it's Medicaid or Medicare, frequently need equipment that either the insurance won't provide yet, because wheelchairs, you can only get a new wheelchair paid for by insurance once every 5 years at best. And so many people who have insurance can't get the insurance, the equipment that they need, and we can provide it to them. So, when we receive equipment, and let me say that the majority of our equipment comes from landfills where we've put sea containers with our sign on it, and people who are coming to dump equipment into the landfill will see our container and put it in there. They are filling up every week. We get it from huge amounts from nursing homes who used to pull up roll-off dumpsters once every 6 months and fill them and take the equipment to the landfill, and from hospitals. So we have tremendous sources for this equipment. We bring the equipment into our sanitization room. We have a warehouse that's nearly 60,000 square feet. And we bring it in, we sanitize everything to national standards. This equipment, a hub scrub, sanitizes both with chemicals as well as with light. And so everything is thoroughly sanitized. We then take the equipment to our repair room, and everything is then inspected, repaired, and then we put it into our inventory. As you can see, I believe from the next slide, we have it's just been described as a Costco size warehouse that is filled floor to ceiling with all types of durable medical equipment. So we have hundreds, thousands of wheelchairs all different sizes. We have standard, we have bariatric, we have transfer wheelchairs, rollators, walkers, bathroom commodes. Look at the amount of equipment that we have in just 2 years. We're now giving away about 160 pieces of equipment every week, every month. And that number is just growing tremendously. We've only been open 2 years, and we are already at this level of equipment. Last year, we started a new program that serves all of Maryland's 325 ALS patients. We assist them with voice tracking devices, which are frequently abandoned because they're so complicated. We have a program with a nonprofit that's comprised of engineers who work with ALS patients to assist them with their eye tracking devices to keep them communicating. And we can also provide a lot of additional service for them to change their wheelchairs monthly if needed as their situations change. We don't just give the equipment out. The director of our program is a PhD in physical therapy, and we tailor the equipment to the needs of the individual. So we are having conversations with them and they share with us what their needs are, and we can then tailor all of the equipment to their specific needs. We have a section in our warehouse that is for emergency preparedness for the state of Maryland. So if there's a disaster anywhere in the state, we can provide equipment necessary immediately. We had 1,000 pieces of equipment that were not going to be used in Maryland. We were able to ship them to Ukraine. During the pandemic, when we had vaccine centers set up all across the state, our local governments and the state of Maryland contacted us with the need for well over 100 wheelchairs. We were able to provide them overnight and prevented everyone from having to rent wheelchairs for the big vac centers. This program has been more successful than we had possibly imagined. But something that we had not expected, and you could stay with this screen for a moment if you would, is the environmental impact that we've had. We have already preserved from the landfill the space equivalent to 15 single-family homes, because the amount of equipment that we've already collected is you could fill 15 homes floor to ceiling with equipment. So it turns out that this has a tremendous environmental impact as well. We're the only state in the nation to have this statewide program. And to be frank, there are very few even private programs that are anywhere near the size that we have here and giving out the amount of equipment that we have. There were a couple of slides there of individuals who've used our program who offered to allow us to show them, but we have a veteran who had a manual wheelchair and his shoulders were beginning to break down, but he was not yet ready for the VA to give him provide funding for a motorized wheelchair. We provided him with a motorized wheelchair. The Marcia in this picture contacted us before she was going on vacation, 2 days before she was supposed to be going to Myrtle Beach. Her motorized wheelchair broke and was not operable. They called us and said, could you repair it? We can't find a repair location any longer. And we were not able to repair her chair, but we were able to provide her with this brand new motorized wheelchair, which had a feature that hers never had. It had the lift in it. And she sent us this picture because this is the first vacation that Marcia's been able to look over the railing and be part of, see everything on the beach and be part of what was happening around her. She's thrilled with it. And we gave Marcia that wheelchair and then have since repaired hers and given that out to someone else. So the benefits of our innovations are far reaching. We prevent isolation. There's still a lot more work to do there, but we help prevent isolation. We prevent falls and hospitalizations. We hope that we are now preventing both we know we're preventing entry into higher levels of care, which means that we are preventing spend down. Our goal is for our residents to be able to take care of themselves, live at home where they want to be, and preserve their assets so they can pass them on to their children or their grandchildren and not spend all of them on their health care. So I think that is the overview, and I am happy to answer any questions.
All right, Secretary Kramer, that was amazing. And we're so fortunate to have so many services in the state of Maryland. But as you may have imagined, we've got a lot of questions and comments. So are you ready? Okay. Well,
I'm ready.
the first question is from Amy Griboff, who happens to be a Positive Aging Community Champion. And she says, can we have an update on the ability to receive long-term care Medicaid in client's home? Thank you, Amy Griboff, who is an elder law attorney.
Yeah, one of the programs that we assist the Department of Health with is a program where Medicaid will serve people in their homes, both in their homes initially, and we don't assist with that, where people get Medicaid supports to remain at home, and then another program that brings people from nursing homes back into their homes or a residential setting. So we work with the Department of Health on that program only to go into nursing homes and explain the program to assist people to get that Medicaid assistance. So we are doing it. Those numbers are increasing of the people we can serve that way. And the Department of Aging does not operate that program. That's health.
Great. Okay. Someone came in about halfway through and was asking, are these services free, like trips to the doctor's office? How do I sign up for a ride to a doctor's office?
So the program that I was discussing, Community for Life, has a fee. There are some subsidies. So for people who cannot afford the $150 a month, there are some subsidies available. And you need to be a member of your Community for Life in order to have the transportation services. There are other programs that provide transportation, but they are not through the Department of Aging.
Okay, great. Now I've got a few questions from Amy Griboff, again, an elder law attorney, and Joan Green, who is a technology ambassador and expert. And they're wondering about, what does a partner for Community of Life look like? What are the ideal partners? And Joan asks, could there be sort of a helping Marylanders with technology and things like that? Could that be part of this Community of Life for Life program?
Thank you. Every service that is available could certainly become part of a Community for Life service. And we want to support our members with all the surrounding services that we possibly can. Let me tell you some of our partners in Community for Life. One of our early, probably our first partner was Broadmead, the continuing care retirement community that is owned by a nonprofit, and they have a mission that is a nonprofit charitable mission, and they were looking for a way to serve the community around them and to expand their mission, and decided that this was a perfect fit. They already know how to do home maintenance. They do it on their campus, their CCRC campus. They already provide service navigator type services, and they have transportation. So they were a perfect fit. They are our Baltimore County Community for Life. We have Keswick in Baltimore City, an organization, a nonprofit that has assisted older adults for many years with transportation and other services. We have Partners in Care, a nonprofit that's been providing the same services, but without the fee and through a more shared service model. They have now transitioned into Community for Life. We're working with a nonprofit in Southern Maryland to bring on a Southern Maryland CFL, and they have it's a completely different nonprofit that already operates group homes. And so they already know how to provide these supports through their experience in operating group homes. So all different types of providers. If you have any interest, we'd be happy to speak with you.
Great. And I what I was sharing on the screen there for everybody to see, which I'm going to drop that link into chat again, is the current CFL partners. And then RONA Secretary Kramer, somebody wanted me to ask you, who do we contact? At the bottom of that page, it says start a Community for Life program, and there's an email and contact info, which I also just dropped into to chat there. Somebody had a question I saw earlier about Prince George's County, which is not on that list. Do you have a partner in plan for Prince George's County?
We do not, and we would love to. We
Okay.
have worked for years to find a nonprofit to operate a Community for Life in Prince George's. I would love to see that happen sooner rather than later.
Great. Okay, let's see. Let me get through here. Okay, Joan Green says, what is happening in terms of helping low-income individuals who live in assisted living and run out of money? There are very few options for Medicaid-funded assisted living communities, and some may not qualify for skilled care and nursing care. Not an easy question, right?
Very tough, obviously, but those were the programs that I discussed earlier that we call our nursing home diversion programs, where we can, if they're already living in assisted living, we do have our senior assisted living subsidy program, where we actually make a contribution towards the cost of those fees, the assisted living. And we have the congregate housing supports program, where we can bring services. We'll actually pay for additional meals or charge service, or the few things that the individual living there can't afford to pay for, but needs in order to have their to be able to stay in that setting rather than moving into nursing home care.
Great. Jean Ivory is, she noticed that there's not a Community for Life program in her county. And would you advise someone like Jean to contact her the Maryland Access Point in her county to see what kind of services could be provided in lieu of the Community for Life program?
Sure, if there is no Community for Life, but you'd like to know what services your area agency on aging provides, all you have to do is call 211 and tell them that you want to speak to your area agency on aging.
And I'm dropping in the website for Maryland Access Point there, which I love the website because it integrates the 211 in Maryland. I don't think a lot of people don't realize that, the ability to do that. So Jean, hopefully that's helpful, and hopefully there is going to be a partner coming soon to your county. And Eileen Kogot, same thing. For Cecil County, I would basically reach out to Maryland Access Point in your region.
Yes.
Let's see. Kitchi says the slide presented showed $150 monthly fees for Community for Life. Does this vary with different areas, or is this for, statewide? It's the same.
Yes.
Fee.
It is basically the same statewide. There are a couple of jurisdictions where it's, I believe, $166 as opposed to $150. We have one provider who has a number of jurisdictions, and they charge, I believe it's $16 more a month.
Great. And okay, let's see. Lakeisha asks, after the $150 monthly fee, are members required to pay in full or partially for home modifications or maintenance?
We provide generally about 4 hours. It varies a little bit where some areas need more transportation and less maintenance, but we provide the maintenance, those hours of maintenance. If you need more than that, most of our CFLs, all of them, allow you to purchase more if you need it. It's really 4 hours is a lot. And some of our CFLs are assisting with decluttering as maintenance.
That's great.
Yeah, and some of them will, and if there are, if you require some type of equipment, though they'll do the labor, you pay for the banister or whatever equipment is necessary.
Great. Let's see, Melissa Bressler, she is with another positive aging community champion called Handy Pro, which does accessible remodeling and design. And she says Handy Pro is already a Medicaid provider, is becoming a Community for Life partner, a separate designation. Is for the providers that are in the audience, like Melissa and Handy Pro,
Yes.
What is the process to be included in this program?
They need to contact us and we work with them just to be sure that they have the capability to provide the services. It's a great idea. And I'd love to have a conversation with you about that. And
Okay.
it could well be that you've already got the skills necessary to do that. We'd love to have that discussion.
And would you say that the best contact point to have that discussion is the communityforlife.mdoa@maryland.gov email?
Yes, that would be just fine. And that will get then to me. I'm very involved in the Community for Life program. And we have a director and we'd all be happy to discuss it.
Great. Okay. Let's see. Victoria Hathaway, again, another positive aging community champion. We got tons of on this call today. What is on your, great question, Vicki. What is on your wish list for Maryland seniors that is not yet being provided? An initiative, task force, program, service that you'd love to see. Ears up for things you'd love to happen on the state, public, private level. And let me tell you, I know why Vicki is asking that question, because she would love to help you check some boxes that you are looking to check.
There are a number of innovations that that we've learned of that I would love to put into place. One is a falls prevention program. Falls cause it is a fall is the most common reason for someone moving into a higher level of care. And there are some terrific new innovations in that tie in the physical walking with cognition, and improving brain plasticity with walking can prevent a lot of falls. I would love for us to be able to jump heavily into that and actually prevent 70% of the falls that occur. So that's one of the things. There are all kinds of innovative programs, particularly to reduce isolation.
Great. Let's see, someone asked, the CFL categories are home maintenance, service navigator, and transportation. Can an educational nonprofit become a community for life provider, but focus on education for seniors and families? And one of your team members, Barbara Sigler, did put into the dialogue here that each nonprofit must be able to provide the 3 core services of maintenance, service navigation, and transportation. So I think if you're a nonprofit like Broadmead, Keswick, Partners in Care, that can provide those 3 core services, then you're an ideal CFL provider, a partner. But then all of these other great services, whether it be accessible design, education, technology, those are providers within that region. Do I have that description correct, Dr. or Secretary KRAMER?
Yeah, you do have to be able to provide the core services, and we have trademarked the name Community for Life, and it is so we are consistent in every jurisdiction that we provide those 3 core services, and that we didn't choose those services. We didn't pick them out of the air. We've worked with the experts in the state of Maryland, the lead gerontologists from the University of Maryland, from Johns Hopkins, from National Institutes on Aging, and created those services that we know that are proven to keep people at home longer. Then in addition to that, you can bring in any other services, and we hope eventually we will create the structure to allow a lot of other services like great educational programs to come in to those members.
Great. Okay, man. Well, we've got a few more questions here in chat that I'm going to run through, and then we'll start wrapping things up. So Eileen asks, what is the phone number for the ombudsman? And would you say that the best thing for Eileen to do is go through Maryland Access Point or her local area agent, connect with her local area agency on aging?
If she needs to reach the ombudsman in her jurisdiction, she can call 211 and ask for to speak to the ombudsman in her jurisdiction, and they will put her through someone who will pick up the phone in her jurisdiction.
Okay, great. And then let's see, Tony Miller says, do you have opportunities to educate homeowners on various financial tools to help pay for services and help them stay in home for long-term care? We'd love to explore these types of educational opportunities.
Yeah, it's very important work, but we do not provide financial information. There are a lot of educational pieces that have been put out by the Consumer Division of the Attorney General's office, and it might be worth looking to see what's there, but we do not provide financial education.
Great. Let me see here. I'm okay. Somebody asked, can I save the chat? Because there's lots of great resources there in chat. Folks, this is being recorded, and we will post at the Positive Aging website this afternoon the recording, all the chat and with all these links. So you don't need to be taking notes or anything like that.
While you're looking at the next question, one thing that I don't think I mentioned when I was speaking about the durable medical equipment program that is very important is that we have drop off and pickup locations throughout the state. Our main headquarters with our offices and the warehouse is in Cheltenham in Prince George's County, but you do not have to go there from Western Maryland or the Eastern Shore. We have location sites throughout the state to make it convenient for donating. Thank you. There we go. For donating equipment as well as for distribution of equipment. And if you can't come to our warehouse where we can actually train you on the use of the equipment, we can speak with you over the phone and get the information necessary to tailor the equipment that we're sending to you. And then we will provide information on use.
Great. And another positive aging community champion, Patricia Dubroff from Assisting Hands, says, any chance that the state is working on expanding the home care respite coordination voucher program that the ARC of Montgomery County offers?
We do not have, there are no plans for funding additional respite. And let me say hi to Ms. Dubroff. We're not at the moment, there's no funding in the horizon that I see
Okay.
for expanding.
And let's see. Okay. Our friend Arnold Epperl is on this. Oh man, I love Arnold. And he says, Secretary Kramer has been an exceptional champion of new services to older adults in Maryland. She has also allowed continuing care at home to flourish in Maryland in the near future. Yeah, that's a great program, and great to see you out there in the audience, Arnold.
Thank you, Arnold.
And let's see. Okay. All right. This has been super informative. A lot of comments on people did not realize how many programs there were under the state of Maryland government. I mean, this really is what folks, you know, when you think about a government agency providing these services and, you know, the CFL service for only $150 a month, this is a great use of our taxpayer dollars and in helping folks.
Thank you. And we couldn't do it without our nonprofit partners. It's just been a terrific team effort.
Yep. Okay. Let's see. Eileen says, would CFL Community for Life provide evening rides to private social events for members who do not drive at night?
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Okay. And all right. Well, once again, I thank our audience members for such engaging questions and really taking this discussion to the next level. I think I got through the pile of questions there, Secretary Kramer. So I might bring Joe and Meryl back on the stage to wrap up. And then, of course, whenever I say that I'm going to wrap up, another question comes in. But this is a great one. Lakeisha asks, who provides the transportation? Is it volunteers or paid contractors?
It varies between Communities for Life. Some of them have a hybrid. They have people on staff who will do driving, but they also have volunteers. So if a volunteer is available, the volunteer can drive, but because it is a paid service, they must provide that ride when they committed to provide it, and they've got to be on time. So there is always someone, even if they're using volunteers, there is always paid staff to back that up and be there for them, unlike some other volunteer type programs. Our service navigators will also assist if our member needs an Uber. They will make the arrangements for the Uber. Uber can then bill the Community for Life provider, and then it will be billed from the Community for Life provider to the individual who used the service. And that means that our members don't have to have a smartphone, they don't have to have the Uber app, and they don't have to deal with questioning whether the price was correct or not.
Man, this is great. Hey, Meryl and Joe, once again, I'm really excited to work with Senior Service Alliance, and thank you for getting such a wonderful speaker for us. And Secretary Kramer, I would say, very well organized. Your PowerPoints are amazing. It was very easy to follow and really engage our audience in a thoughtful discussion. Thank you for all the preparation that you put into this.
Thank you. That thanks goes to Barbara Ziegler, who I think is on that call, who did the slides. I have no artistic ability whatsoever.
I'd like to add that dealing with Barbara and your office was amazing also. There were no issues at all. And as you know, that doesn't happen in all offices. So
Thank
we
you.
need to thank you also.
Thank you. We've got a wonderful department with wonderful people. Our job is to serve our older adults, and I have to say that constituent service is absolutely primary, as it has been throughout the Hogan administration. But our department takes that very, very seriously, and everyone there is here to serve.
This has been a phenomenal program presentation. Steve, kudos to you for hosting another wonderful opportunity for folks to learn about the breadth and depth of the Maryland program that Secretary Kramer has described. This is just, I mean, awesome doesn't even quite reach the level of wonderfulness that this provides.
Yeah, great. Well, again, thank you, Secretary Kramer, and really thank you to the attendees who asked great questions. And I hope you got a lot of your questions answers, but just as a reminder, this is recorded. I'll have it up on our website with all the chat and all those resources. And we'll send that out later this afternoon. And we look forward to seeing you all at the next discussion. Have a great day.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.